Krishna.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhansa Parivrajakacharya Ashtottara Satashi Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shama Kund Radha Kunidi Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Jamana Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Hari Bol. Thank you so much, Maharaj, and thank you everyone for joining us for Srimad Bhagavatam class with His Holiness Jayādvaita Swami. It is Friday, December 2nd, 2022 in New York, a day later in India, and we are in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th chapter, Divisions of the Creation. Tonight we're going to be starting with verse number 21. Looking forward to hearing everyone's questions and comments. And if you're thinking you might like to lead tonight's closing kirtan, please immediately do so at the appropriate time so that we don't have dead airspace. Thank you very much. And thank you, Maharaj, for being with us from Sri Vrindavan Dham. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Kendra Prabhu, and thank you to all. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Tirascham Ashtama Sarga Soshtav Vimshad Vitomataha Avido Puri Tamaso Pranakya Vidyavedanaha. The eighth creation is that of the lower species of life, and they are of different varieties, numbering 28. They are all extensively foolish and ignorant. They know their desirables by smell, but are unable to remember anything within the heart. Purport. In the Vedas, the symptoms of the lower animals are described as follows. Te tere sham pashu naha, ashana pipase, eva vivi jnanam na vigyatam, vadanti na vigyatam pashanti na viduhu, shvastanam na loka lokav iti, yadva Bhuri tamaso bahurushaha prani naiva jananti kridiyam prati swapriyam vastveva vindanti bhojana shayanadyartam grananti. Lower animals have knowledge only of their hunger and thirst. They have no acquired knowledge, no vision. Their behavior exhibits no dependence on formalities. Extensively ignorant, they can know their desirables only by smell, and by such intelligence only can they understand what is favorable and unfavorable. Their knowledge is concerned only with eating and sleeping. Therefore, even the most ferocious lower animals, such as tigers, can be tamed simply by regularly supplying meals and accommodations for sleeping. Only snakes cannot be tamed by such an arrangement. Om Jnana Timiram Tasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Mahyam Dadhati Shapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jatapadakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Shagrajatam Shahagana Raghunatam Vitam Stam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savatutam Krishna Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Shahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kamshana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Puri Priye Vanchakolpatavrubhyascha Prabhasindho Vyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Tirashcham Ashtama Sarga Soshta Vimshad Vidho Mataha Avido Bhuri Tamaso Granagya Vidyavedana. Now this is the position of the lower animals, extensively ignorant, interested basically in eating and sleeping, and Vedanaha, Tridiya Vedanaha. In their hearts, they don't develop higher understanding. They remain avidaha, without knowledge of tomorrow. Uri tamasa, extensively in ignorance. All right, any questions here?
Yes, Maharaj. Hare Krishna, please accept my obeisances. So I was wondering about animals. I accept what this says, but also through observation, we see many instances of animals, and I think the intelligence of animals, between different species is relative, like, I don't know, an aardvark compared to a dog or something like that. I would imagine the dog has more of some kind of intelligence. But we see that there are animals that I'm guessing because of their intelligence, they have certain natural or historical level of association with human beings. And then human beings domesticate them and they train them. And then they act in ways that you would not see them act in the wild. Like for instance, dogs, I remember when I was in India, the dogs are just slinking around and barking and growling and whatever. But a really well-trained dog has some kind of, and I wouldn't say it's higher knowledge, obviously, but it seems that association with human beings can elevate them. Does that make sense? That's been the observation that I've made, that somehow or other people like to attribute fine qualities to dogs, for instance, but if they see dogs in the wild, those dogs won't have good qualities. But dogs that are well trained in association by humans, they exhibit what seem to be good qualities. So I was wondering, is it possible to elevate the consciousness of an animal by proper association with human beings?
Best elevation is that they go back to Godhead. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was throwing some pulp of mango at a dog, and the dog went back to Godhead. So that's the best association, by association with devotees. We see sometimes that even the animals, they'll attend regularly Bhagavatam class. Kanavakanana Maharaj was telling me about some monkey. There was some feast being served in the Vrindavan temple, and all the devotees were sitting in rows. And one monkey came and sat down very properly before one of the plates. So the devotees fed him, and he was satisfied.
Thank you.
So that's the best association. They develop better intelligence than most human beings.
Yes. Thank you.
Kendra Prabhu.
Well, thank you, Maharaj. But first we wondered, did the monkey get served prasadam is what we wonder.
I think Kanavakanana Maharaj told me that he himself served the monkey.
Oh, Krishna. No, as I was reading this verse in purport, I thought, well, here's something I can certainly identify with. Preoccupied only with food, devoid of lengthy deliberation. I can certainly relate to that. One thing I noticed that I thought was interesting in Srila Vishwanath's commentary was that he took this bhuri tamasaha to mean that animals by nature have a lot of anger. And yeah, sometimes you see that. It's like really intense.
Yeah, you see that.
Only knowledge of eating and drinking. And this, to me also, when Prabhupada is bringing this this knowledge to the Western countries, and noting how so-called human beings without any sense of God consciousness are no better than animals. This is exactly what he was seeing. Only knowledge of eating and drinking. They do not speak of what they discern. They do not inspect what they discern. They do not know tomorrow. They do not know the world and the next world. This is all from reading from Srila Vishwanath's commentary. But boy, oh boy, it really, really shows us the state of us humans in the West.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Kim grame pashavo pare. The second canto. Other animals. Fitting. Human beings and other animals. Thank you. Saraswati says, are bacteria and viruses considered among one of the 28 varieties mentioned here? And are these same species present on upper planetary systems too? Well, about the 28, since they're not enumerated, I can't say what's included. The microbial creatures are mentioned in the Brahma Samhita. Yastrendra Gopa Matavendra Maho Shakarma Bandhana Rupa Palabhajana Matanoti. Indra Gopa Prabhupada translates as the tiny germs. And Indra, of course, is Lord Indra, Mahendra. So they're there, and they must be among the creatures created by Lord Brahma. So one could assume they're among the 28, but I wouldn't want to speak without authority. As for the heavenly planets, the same species there, that I can't say. Whether they have better dogs or whether they have better than dogs, or what goes on in the heavenly planets, I can't say. Anything else? Okay. But in the spiritual planets, they have cows, they have so many animals. Surabhi Rabi Pavyant. Gaurajo Mahisha Krishna Shukaro Gavayo Luluhu Dvishapa Pashavas Cheme Avir Ushras Jasattama. O purest Vidura of the lower animals, the cow, goat, buffalo, Krishna stag, hog, Gavya animal, deer, lamb, and camel all have 2 hooves. Karoshapo Shvataro Gauraha Sharabhas Jamaritata Ete Chaika Shapa Shatta Shinu Pancha Nikan Pashun. The horse, mule, ass, Gora, Sharabha bison, and wild cow all have only 1 hoof. Now you may hear from me about the animals who have 5 nails. Swashagalo Vikovyagro Marjara Shasha Shallaka Singha Kapir Raja Kurmo Godha Chamakaradayaha. The dog, jackal, tiger, fox, cat, rabbit, sajaru, lion, monkey, elephant, tortoise, alligator, gosapa, etc. all have 5 nails in their claws. They are known as panchanakas, or animals having 5 nails. Kanka Gridra Pakashena Pasapaluka Arhinaha Hansa Sarasa Chakrava Kakorukadaya Kagaha. The heron, vulture, crane, hawk, pasa, paluka, peacock, swan, sarasa, Chakravaka, crow, owl, and others are the birds. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur points out that some of these are land-dwelling birds, and some of them are aquatic birds. Arvakshotastu navamaha kshatareka vidho nrinam vidhodhika karmapara dukecha sukamaninaha. The creation of the human beings who are of one species only and who stock their eatables in the belly is the 9th in the rotation. In the human race, the mode of passion is very prominent. Humans are always busy in the midst of miserable life, but they think themselves happy in all respects. Purport: the human being is more passionate than the animals, and thus the sex life of the human being is more irregular. The animals have their due time for sexual intercourse. The human being has no regular time for such activities. The human being is endowed with a higher advanced stage of consciousness for getting relief from the existence of material miseries. But due to his ignorance, he thinks that his higher consciousness is meant for advancing in the material comforts of life. Thus, his intelligence is misused in the animal propensities, eating, sleeping, defending, and mating, instead of spiritual realization. By advancing in material comforts, the human being puts himself into a more miserable condition. But illusioned by the material energy, he always thinks himself happy, even while in the midst of misery. Such misery of human life is distinct from the natural, comfortable life enjoyed even by the animals. The human beings make themselves more miserable by their intense endeavors for comfort and happiness. Tulsi Priya has her hand up.
Thank you, Maharaj. I was pulled up a little short when I read that there was only one species that human beings are only one species, when we have heard elsewhere that there are 400,000 species of human beings. And I did a quick lookup, and there was something in a lecture by Srila Prabhupada. Somebody asked about how many species of human life, and Prabhupada says, don't bother about species. There are different forms. And he says, you may call it species according to Darwin's theory, but we don't accept this Darwin theory. And then he uses the word morti. So he says there are 400,000 different forms of human being, meaning morti. He says either take it as species or morti, that is up to you. But in the Shastra, it says morti. So I was just wondering, what is the difference here between, Prabhupada saying there's one human species and elsewhere he says there's 400,000.
Yeah, I don't know. Ekavidta, one type. We're hearing about creations, so this is one type of creation. The human beings. We've heard of other creations where there are 8, and there's enumeration of various creatures belonging to that creation. The birds are of these types, the lower animals are of those types, and human beings, just human beings, they're categorized as one. But of course, you can always divide one into many by looking at different criteria. So you've got white ones and black ones, you've got American ones and French and European and Asian and so on. You've got Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras. You've got all sorts of ways to divide up human society and count according to different characteristics. So, but here, they're one creation. Human beings are counted as one. I can't say more than that, I don't think.
That's fine, thank you. So basically saying there's human beings are of one species, but then there may be subdivisions of different types of human beings, but they're still all human beings.
There's definitely divisions, even in a family, 4 brothers, and they'll all be different. So distinctions can always be made in the categories and so on.
Thank you.
Karma para. Raja adika, too much passion. prominently passionate. Human beings are always, and therefore they've made a mess of the planet. The animals, the birds, the trees, and so on, they're living the way they're supposed to. They have a natural way of life. And the human beings, some talk about wanting to have a natural way of life, and they make big industries dedicated to a natural way of life. But the human beings are mostly unwilling to live simply. They want more, they want better, they want this, they want that. They want sense gratification. So karma para, along with passion goes hard work, and along with passion and hard work comes misery. Rajasastu palam dukkam. From the mode of passion comes suffering. Dukkecha sukha manina. But sukha manina, the human beings think themselves happy, while in fact they're suffering like anything. Saraswati says, even amongst human beings, there are differences in their potential abilities, both academic and physical. So despite these differences, can all human beings become perfect in bhakti with an equal chance? They can all become equal in bhakti. All human beings can come to the transcendental platform, Kiratu Hanandra Pulinda Pulkusha, Abhira Shumpa, Yamana Kushadaya, Yenye Chapapa Yadapashraya, Shujanti Tasmai Purvishnavi. By the association of a pure devotee, everyone can equally come to the platform of pure devotional service. But in terms of an equal chance, no, some have greater opportunity, some have lesser opportunity. Those who've acted piously in previous lives, yesham tvantukatam papam, te dvanvamoha, they're more easily freed from duality and illusion, and bhajanti mam pradavata, and engagement in devotional service. And in Bhagavad Gita we find Striya Shudra Tata Vaishatepi Anti Paramgatim. Women, Shudras, and Vaishyas can also come to devotional service. It's open for everyone. Kim punar brahmana punya. Bhakta rajarshayastata. Then what to speak of the pious Brahmins? Kim punar brahmana punya. Bhakta rajarshiyas, and the rajarshis. That means they're naturally more inclined, and the others are less inclined. So there's some good fortune by previous birth. Elsewhere, prapya punya kritam lokan shitva shashvati Suchinam Shimatam Gehe Yoga Brashto Vijayate. The fallen yogis can take birth in a wealthy family or a Brahmin family, or Atava Yoginam Eva Kule Bhavati Dhimatam, or they can take birth in a family of transcendentalists. So that means these are all advantages. To be born in a wealthy family means you have some, don't have to struggle as much. to be born and to be a Rajarshi, to be, well, anyway, all of these categories means extra advantages. But you can throw away your advantages. Or without these advantages, you can still attain perfection. The High Court judge, the son of the High Court judge has an advantage for becoming a lawyer, becoming a judge. At the dinner table, they're talking about this case and that case. The father is naturally talking about such things. The friends are also judges and lawyers. So in that atmosphere, one has the opportunity to become more easily, enter the legal profession. Maybe one gets into a good school because the school takes into account that you're the son of such and such judge. But you can also become a nonsense. Or someone from, with no background becomes a brilliant attorney, becomes a Supreme Court justice. So there's some mobility, and particularly Krishna directly says about devotional service, everyone is eligible, but some have advantages. Therefore, we should use those advantages. Whatever advantage one has, one should use for devotional service. If one is intelligent or one is talented, if one is wealthy, that's an advantage. If one is poor, that's an advantage from another angle of vision. So whatever advantages one has in the human life, one should seize them and use the opportunity for becoming Krishna conscious. Yes, Tulsi Priya.
Maharaj, earlier you were mentioning the dog who was liberated by Mahaprabhu, who took prasadam and was chanting Hare Krishna. And I was also thinking of Gajendra the elephant, who, was punished to become an elephant, but he remembered the mantra when he was in trouble and was liberated that way. And I was just wondering, the elephant has a limited capacity and the dog has a limited capacity, but somehow the dog was attracted to Mahaprabhu. Somehow the elephant remembered the one mantra, and that was sufficient. And I was wondering if, sort of picking up from Saraswati's question, let's say a Brahmana has a lot of capacity, a lot of potential, but he doesn't utilize it fully. Whereas somebody of very limited capacity, let's say even a person, who's mentally retarded or whatever, they do whatever their capacity is. Is it a matter of you going to your full capacity, or does somebody have an advantage even if they're not utilizing their full capacity in devotional service? Does that make sense?
I'm not sure I can sort it out.
I'll nutshell it. If a Brahmana is acting at 50%, in devotional service, but his capacity is that much greater than somebody who is less capacity, is he still making more advancement, or is it a matter of how much of your capacity that you're utilizing?
I haven't seen any statements about that, but if something's easy for one person, then even on working at half capacity, he can pull it off, and another person, no matter what, he works at full speed and he can't get anywhere. So that's just common sense. So just like here in India, the people can very easily take to Krishna consciousness. The culture is there, the Shastra is there. There's so many advantages. So even if someone is a little lazy or a little less inclined, very easily he can make progress. But if he remains only sort of coasting like that, then he can slide down also, or just be pious and not attain Krishna consciousness. And even a Shudra, Lecha, from a foreign country, if he's very serious, can attain perfection. Therefore, we see that here in Vrindavan, after many years, that even the local people have respect for some of the Videshi Vaishnavas, the foreign Vaishnavas. They may have mixed opinions about the ISKCON Vaishnavas generally, but they see that this person has become Bhakta Vaishnava, and they respect that person as a sadhu. So it's recognized that anyone from any part of the world can become as good as the best of the Brahmins. Aho bhata swapachoto kuriyan yajjivagre vartate namatubhya. Anyone who's chanting Hare Krishna can become better than come to the highest platform. Or tepi yanti paramgatam, they can go back to Godhead. So it's possible that they can all attain perfection, but they may have to work harder at it. Whereas to someone fortunate enough to be born in the culture, born in a Vaishnava family, it may become very easy, but we can misuse our opportunities or neglect our opportunities, or think that, well, automatically, because I'm born in such and such family, I'm naturally, but then he doesn't take to the process. It's not enough just to be born in a Vaishnava family or born in a Brahmin family. One has to take it seriously and do something with it, make it perfection. Janma Swarta Kori, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Paratubhumite Manusha Janmoha. He's gotten a human birth in Bharatvarsha. That means it's an advantage. Why is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu singling out the Bharatvarshis? It means it's a special advantage. But Janma Swartak, it's not that because you've got that advantage, automatically your life becomes perfect. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is admonishing or urging the Indians especially, make your life perfect. You're this close, now finish the job. And then paropakar, and then extend Krishna consciousness for the benefit of others. Okay. Maitreya Muni characterizes humans as thinking the miseries as happiness, but he does not give this characteristic for other lower species. They don't think anything. Human beings are thinking now, this is happiness, this is, they're in that way, sort of by mental concoction, they take a miserable condition and imagine that there's some happiness in it. They dream, they scheme. The animals are just dull. So they're not described as thinking anything. Where's food, where's sex, where's a good place to sleep. Murko vadati vishnaya, dhiro vadati vishnave, upayos tu samam punyam, bhavagrahi janardana. This is from Radhesha. At the time of offering obeisances to Lord Vishnu, a foolish person chants Vishnaya Namaha, which is faulty grammar. And a learned person chants Vishnave Namaha, the correct form. But both achieve equal piety by their offering of obeisances, because Lord Sri Janardana sees the sentiment of the living being. In other words, he sees the degree of devotion, or in other words, he awards the result accordingly. He does not see one's foolishness or intelligence. Chaitanya Bhagavat quotes this verse. Yes, Bhavagrahi Janardana. Ubayos tu samam punyam, they both get equal benefit because Krishna is Bhavagrahi Janardana. He is the personality of Godhead who sees the heart of the devotee. So both make equal progress. Yes, thank you for that verse. Saraswati says, I have a close friend who has a parrot that says, Hari Bol, Hare Krishna, whenever a human approaches it. So this cannot be an ordinary bird. In fact, the bird helps you to remember Krishna. Yeah, they're fortunate the bird is trained to chant Hare Krishna. But Prabhupada said that when death comes, the bird chants, ah! So that's also there. But there are so many examples that can be given of animals that become fortunate by getting the opportunity for becoming Krishna conscious. In South India, there's a temple that's, let me think, which temple is that?
It's Guruvayur, Keshwan.
Guruvayur, thank you. And the name of the elephant?
The name of the elephant is Keshavan.
Keshavam elephant. Thank you very much, Anantashesh. The elephant was given the responsibility for carrying the deity in procession. The elephants are trained in that way. And this elephant would be jealous. No one else can carry the deity. He would, chase off the other elephants. This is my seva. And the elephant was always engaged in that way, serving the deity. Then finally it was seen that at the end of its life, the elephant walked into the temple and prostrated itself before the deities and gave up his life. Still, they're keeping the tusks of that elephant by the shrine of the deity at Guruvayur. Guruvayur Keshavam is a legend. Not just legend, I mean legendary, yes, in the sense of famous, but it's historically true. The tusks are there. So even an elephant became so fortunate. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj, when Lord Nrsingadev appeared, all the demigods offered nice prayers in Sanskrit and beautiful glorification. And still the Lord wasn't satisfied. So then Brahma thought, well, the Lord has appeared for you, Prahlad, so you try to satisfy him. And Prahlad thought that I'm just a demon. I'm just a child and I'm just a demon. What can I say to glorify the Lord? All these demigods have glorified him so nicely. What can I do? But then he remembered that even an elephant offered prayers to the Lord and was saved. So he thought that, well, at least I'm a human being, let me try. So in a similar way, even the fortunate animals can become Krishna conscious and go back to Godhead. So, although they're animals, and animals are described as just interested in eating and sleeping, still the animals can attain perfection. And what can a human being achieve if he tries? Labdva sudurlabham. What is that? Krishna. Labdva sudurlabhamidam bahusambhavante. After going through so many different species of life, we have this human form, turnamyateta. Therefore, we're urged that now that you have this human form of life, at once seriously take up Krishna consciousness. It shouldn't be lost. It shouldn't be wasted. It should be used very seriously. Anantashesha says that my native town is nearby, the Guruvayur, so he knows. So fortunate, Anantashesha. I grew up near New York City, and you grew up near Guruvayur. How fortunate! How much more fortunate. Okay, let's see where we are. Vaikritas Traya Evaite Deva Sargas Chasattama Vaikarikas Tuya Prokta Kaumaras Tu Payatmakaha. O good Vidura, these last three creations and the creation of the demigods, the 10th creation, are Vaikrita creations, which are different from the previously described Prakrita, natural creations. The appearance of the Kumaras is both. So, as we discussed previously, the first creations mentioned are Prakrita. They're created by the Lord himself. So they're natural creations, creations of basic constituents of nature or the cosmic manifestation. That's Prakrita. And then Vaikrita are these later creations, subsequent creations by Lord Brahma. They're called Vaikrita. So the last three creations and the demigod creation, that's Vaikrita, that's Brahma's business. And the creation of the Kumars is both. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that the Kumars were born from the meditation of Lord Brahma. So they're counted both ways. By the meditation of Lord Brahma, the Kumars appeared by the grace of the Lord. So Brahma is involved and the Lord is also involved. So they're considered both Prakrita and Vaikrita. Anything else here? Praveen says, considering that Bhav is only considered by only Bhav is considered by the Lord, is it that being born in a Vaishnava family or part Varsha, one gets more chance to develop that Bhav? Or does the development of Bhav depend on these favorable or unfavorable circumstances that a living entity gets? First of all, it's not dependent, because anyone can get devotional service from any part of the world. that evidence has already been given. And the quotations are there that when Advaita Acharya invited Haridas Thakur to accept the first plate of prasadam offered in the Shraddha ceremony, then Haridas said, I'm a Muslim, everyone will joke, you're a high-class Brahmin. And Advaita Acharya presented many verses demonstrating that anyone can be elevated to the platform of devotional service and become better than an ordinary Brahmin. So that's there. But definitely, if one is born in favorable circumstances, he gets a better chance to develop bhav, Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada cited his own example that he was born in a family of pure devotees. So from the very beginning, he was trained in how to play mridanga. He took part in his own Ratha Yatra festival with the help of his father. So all of these opportunities were there in his life. Parikshit Maharaj was playing with Krishna dolls from the very beginning. There's so many examples. Or Prabhupada gave the example that in so many Vaishnava families, the deities are there. And so the children are automatically seeing the deity. They're bowing down when their parents bow down. They're taking prasadam of the deity. All of these are opportunities to develop bhav, to develop affection for Krishna, natural devotion. And we see this. We see that in the families of pious people and families of devotees, people can very easily become Krishna conscious. Here in India, in one sense, it's so easy to make devotees. You just scratch the surface. Person's, a big student at IIT, or he's a this, or he's that, or he's a big man in the world, or something. And you just give a little message of Krishna consciousness, and immediately the devotee starts to come out. The tendency to be engaged in Krishna consciousness comes out. I've seen that here in India, someone's opening his little shop. It may be the simplest shop, but he opens up the shop by doing some puja. The tea wala, he'll do some puja, and then he'll begin his business. How fortunate. Or Prabhupada cites the example, I was there, of the devotees were walking through a field here in Vrindavan with Prabhupada's morning walk. And the farmer who owned the field came and offered obeisances to all the devotees and expressed that we're so fortunate that you've come. This is Govinda's field, and you're Govinda's devotees. So we're so fortunate. Prabhupada said in the West, they would have come with a gun, get off my land. So that natural opportunity is there. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu urged, Bharata Bhumite Manusha Janma Harloja Janma Sarta Kari Kara Parupaka. Anyone so fortunate as to take birth as a human being in India should make his life successful by Krishna consciousness and then preach all to others. And Prabhupada, wherever he would go, he would urge Indians, wherever they were, to take this instruction seriously. All right, we can stop here. Okay.
Could I lead the kirtan?
Absolutely.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Anand.
Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I'm gonna sing now, okay? Yeah, I'm gonna sing too. Okay, you're gonna sing after me. Okay. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jai Om Vishnuvad Padamansa Parivrajaka Ashtotar Satashi Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Raj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai, Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath, Sham Kund Radha Kunikiri Govardhan ki Jai, Vrindavan Dham ki Jai, Navadip Dham ki Jai, Jagannath Puri ki Jai, Ganga Mai ki Jai, Jamana Mai ki Jai, Tulsi Devi ki Jai, Bhakti Devi ki Jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Thank you, Ananda, and thank you to all the devotees.
Thank you.
Hare
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you, Doug. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Shraddha.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Supriya.
Hare Krishna Gurudev.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Kanteya. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Especially thank you, Maharaj. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Jayādvaita Maharaj ki jai.
Jai.
Veta Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai.
Jai.
Gaur Premanande.
Hari
Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Bol. Hari Bol.